freedom is the vision. It's time freedom, it's location freedom, and it's freedom of choice of how you're spending your time and how you're making your money. And if you can set up a system that will build you $10,000 a month of free and clear cash flow, you have more choices about what you do for active income, what your spouse does for active income, where your family vacations, all of it.
How do you find the will to fight back against a world that wants to keep you sedated, average, and stuck in place? Join us for the tools and strategies you need to create a life of abundance, discipline, and high achievement. This is the Tactical Empire with Jeff Smith.
Welcome to another episode of the Tactical Empire. I am joined by Shawn Rider. What's going on, man?
Not much. We are T-minus 7 days away from you and I both being North Carolina, North Kakalaki boys. We're just missing each other though, man. I'm leaving on the 2nd and you're arriving on the 2nd. So
I know.
The Western North Carolina mountains are calling our name. God's country, the high country.
A real friend would probably stay over another day.
I have my daughter and my brother and his daughter, and so we might be able to make it through Tuesday. I'll keep you in the loop, but so no, that's awesome, man. I'm glad that you guys are making the trip up the western side of North Carolina. It's got a little piece of my heart there, so I love that place. Awesome, brother. Let's nail it. If you guys have been following along, we are working through the 7 levels of financial freedom, which is something we put all of our inner circle members through. We believe that you'll only go as far as your leadership capabilities and your financial education. So the 7 levels of financial freedom are a key course and key lessons that we ingrain in every single person that works with Jeff and I and our team. We're doing 1 level per episode. So if you haven't listened to the first 4, go back and listen to those. Level 1, you are the asset. Level 2, create or establish your BAM, bare ass minimum. Level 3 is liquidity. Where is your capital? Where is your cash? Do you have lines of credit open? Is your money tied up and it's untouchable, or will it be penalized and you get your hand slapped if you do touch it? You need access to money. Level 4, create your own banking system via high early cash value life insurance. And now we get to the level that everyone actually wants to start at. But we don't get there until level 5 because we believe in laying the foundation for you as an individual and for your family financially. So level 5 is invest in cash flowing assets or establish and pick your investment vehicle. But for us, we do focus on cash flowing assets. Jeff, tossing the ball in your court. Talk to me.
Yeah, this is my favorite one. Ultimately, I think this was about educating yourself on what your risk tolerance is and what you want to be doing, I guess, with your money, making that money go out and make money and go to work for you. So my preferred asset class is real estate. Obviously, we talk a lot about real estate. Most of the people we work with are investing in real estate. I mean, there's a myriad of things that you can invest in, but the criteria with regards to the 7 levels is that it has to be a cash flow focused asset, meaning it either pays you monthly or you have access to the capital throughout your life with no penalties or anything like that, right? So it could be dividend producing stocks. I mean, we've talked about those in the past, but that's not my method, but whatever you choose to do is fine. That's certainly passive. You don't have to work for the company. You don't have to log in and go to your cubicle to get those returns. I just choose real estate. And so we harp on education and knowing where your money's going, understanding that really there's no such thing as passive investments. You do have a level of accountability and responsibility to take ownership for the education and understanding of what you're doing with your dollars and what they should be returning for you.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one that I can't say I waited too long because I'm only 35, turning 36 in 2 months. But I think that's a fair term. I avoided educating myself about cash flowing assets for too long because I was building a business, but I was working in that business. So I was self-employed, not really a business owner that was outside of the fray or a true investor, I didn't understand the full benefits of putting my capital to play in something that was less active. I agree with you that very rarely is there anything that's truly a passive investment. People that argue that index funds, or let's just say dividend producing stocks, are passive, you have to either do the research to know which ones you want to be in, or if you are truly passive, where you hand your money over to a financial advisor and they're just throwing it in index funds, very rarely do you have your eyes completely off of it. So even if you're not working or doing the education or making the decisions, it is going to be mentally fatiguing. So from that sense, it's not passive unless you're literally just like storing money away and you never look at it for 40 years. But I don't think that's what most people do, because during recessions, everyone wants to bitch and moan about what their brokerage accounts looks like. So they're definitely paying attention to it. So I definitely waited too long to educate myself on this. Now that I've been in it for 3 or 4 years, I definitely see the value of cash flowing assets. I see where it's more than just one thing, right? So we do want that monthly income. We do want the ability to have an asset that appreciates over time. And maybe the holy grail is utilizing depreciation to make the cash flow essentially tax-free, if not fully tax-free. The way that I make my investments, I haven't paid taxes on my cash flowing investments since I've been in them. For the listeners, I own a large commercial real estate building, and I own 3 short-term rentals. Soon going to be only 2 short-term rentals. And now, actually, I got to get used to saying this. I own 2 properties with a partner that will be long-term rentals. I'm getting the benefits of those 3 asset classes, all within real estate. I do own LLCs. I am investing in a gym franchise. And unlike my first gym business, where I was self-employed, where I worked for a long time to earn the money and then removed myself, this one from day one, I will pretty much be 90% removed from any roles that require active attention. I'm there to lead the GM and educate her. So I'm excited about that. But we do work with a lot of people here, and it's not to say that they'll never work again. All of these gentlemen in the inner circle still have active income. They still work for money. The question is, what are you doing with the delta? What are you doing with the money that you can set aside after your family expenses? And that's the money we want to put to work. Ideally, we're putting that through your own banking system first, which was level 4. And then we're going to leverage life insurance loans to acquire the assets. Jeff, hit them with any particular details or things that you like to harp on when you're educating people on why cash flow assets.
Well, our primary focus of our asset recommendations are businesses or real estate. And we would be remiss to say that, like, your best investment, and I've said this on other episodes, is in your primary business. And if you can't reinvest in your business or vertically integrate in an area of that you specialize in, that is your highest and best use of your investments in most cases, right? So, like, if you're not a real estate guy, it doesn't make sense necessarily to take a 180 turn and start dumping your money into something and try to learn a new vertical, if you will. So if you specialize in something, there may be an investment that makes a lot of sense that is aligned with your primary business. So we would be, I guess, irresponsible not to mention that. So I don't want you to feel like everyone needs to go out and invest in real estate per se, but level 5 is about not only it's about keeping more of what you're making as well. And the tax benefits that come from buying real estate, like Shawn mentioned, are something that a lot of people don't understand. And at this level, what we're doing is we're saying, okay, you're going out and you're making this much taxable income on a regular basis. How many assets do we have to buy to offset your earned income so that we can zero your tax obligation? Because through cost segregation and other aspects, other routes you can use with regards to investing in real estate, you can lower your tax burden down to next to nothing, to the point where you can go positive on your tax obligations, depending on what your active income is. So high W-2 guys, lawyers, doctors, things like that earn a lot of income, they need to look for these offsetting opportunities to lower their taxable income. So it's not just about making more money necessarily, which is what we talk about a lot. How can you make your money go work for you? But like, it's about keeping more of what you're taking home as well. And so at the end of the day, it's a double win for you, because you're lowering your tax burden, keeping more dollars coming through your system, and you're providing these assets to your portfolio for your family and your legacy that you're building. And so I think that we need to mention that stuff as well. But the the primary focus is starting to run the cycle. So the 7 levels, you're building the foundation, then you're buying the assets, then you're cycling the money back through your banking system as well. And that is where the flywheel starts to expand and really take shape. And that's what you've seen over the last 4 years personally in your life, at least 4 years. And so it just picks up speed as you get the cycle moving over and over again.
Yeah, there was a lot of good points there. It would actually, that's the first thing you said. I kind of want to harp on that for a second. It is interesting in the mastermind where like some guys come in and they have a ton of capital and their businesses are stable and strong, and they could probably squeeze more juice out of them, but they're ready and gung ho to like go right into real estate. Then there's other guys where they have a little bit of capital, and maybe there's not a rule of thumb, but that's kind of where my question's going. Let's just say a guy that owns a small, like super small business, and he's got 50 grand, and it's like, hey, I want to get this 50 grand in real estate, and he wants to go and buy that first property. And sometimes you kind of look at the business and you're like, dude, you're not even squeezing half the juice out of your business. Yeah. So is there maybe not a rule of thumb, but is there something you look for there to dictate whether someone is ready to take the extra capital from their primary business and invest it in the real estate, as opposed to just keeping it in-house and build that business bigger?
Oh man, I don't think that I think it's a case by case basis, because
Agreed.
Like if you look at someone and you're like, hey man, you could go hire a marketing company for 5,000 of this 50,000, and you can take your $30,000 of revenue to $60,000 of revenue, which is a much better use of your money, because your profitability is not going to change that much. You double your gross, and your take home obviously changes dramatically. And you're not going to get that out of real estate. I mean, I admittedly say that all the time. I'm like, this is a long game that you're playing in the real estate space, and it needs to be strategic. Some people, I think, feel stuck in their businesses from time to time, and they use this like new investment as like a shiny object, and they want to distract from what they're doing. So they're like, I'm bored, I'm burnt out on what I'm doing. I'm frustrated that it's kind of been in neutral for a while. So I think I'll go do this instead, and let my business kind of coast along. And I think you really have to just commit to the direction that you're moving in. And so like, if the business is just floundering and kind of stagnating, you need to really take a look at that to make sure that like it's something you should continue, because you can run it into the ground. We've all seen that happen, right?
Yeah.
So you move into a new thing that excites you more, and you're going at it, and you're shifting your focus, and this thing just is over here dying. And so just be careful about that. And we say all that that's not the point of this level 5. Level 5 is to acquire cash flowing assets. And the reason for that is because you don't want to be parking your money behind some paywall with a qualified program that you can't access till you're 62 and a half years old. So we go out and we buy real estate that pays us thousands of dollars each and every month on the first of the month or whatever for the next 40 years. And so we don't have to wait to realize those gains throughout that period of time. And that's where the system is really powerful. And as Shawn mentioned, we're still out there earning active income in the meantime, which means you can defer the income, or delay the gratification, if you will, and cycle it back into your system. And it doesn't change your family's lifestyle. And you can really grow something big with regards to your assets and your portfolio while you don't need it. And that's what allows the power of the whole 7 levels, where we say you can be done in 2 to 7 years. If you can sit there in your active income and work on your active income the way you always have, and allow this to sit over here and grow on its own and cycle, while you continue to identify assets and feed the system over and over again, the next thing you look up and you've reached level 7, which is abundance, and you've got enough money to live the lifestyle that you want to with the assets that you've built because you delayed the gratification.
Yeah. You've said this without saying it, but you said something along the lines of, and you said it in reference to taxes. You said we want to keep more money in our system. And I'm going to take that a step further. And the reason why we keep more money in our system and then acquire cash flowing assets is, to me, it comes down to control. The reason why I don't want to put money in, for me personally, in the stock market, government qualified accounts, like whether it's control the asset or control the rules and regulations around the asset, I want control of the things that I own. I want to dictate the value of these things. The thing about real estate that I think you say to a lot of people is like, it's literally one of the only things that you can add value and make more valuable. You can make businesses more valuable. When you buy that dividend producing stock, there's literally nothing you can do to make that more valuable. So not only do you have to do the research to figure out which dividend producing stock you want to buy, and we both know someone that's really good at that strategy, he has to wait for the opportunity to buy. Like there's times where he's watching, he's done the work. He knows what company he wants to buy, but the price isn't right. So that's such a passive, slow way to get where you want to go. And then who's to say that these companies that he or other people invest in, you don't dictate the Thursday morning that you're going to wake up and there's going to be a headline about the CEO cheating on his wife and the stock price is going to go down. And we know like that's a short-term hit, but like, I just don't want to deal in that bullshit, man. So I'm going to buy assets that I can understand. I want to buy assets that I dictate how long I can hold them, when I can sell them, add value to, put more capital into them, make them more valuable, cash out, refi, whatever it may be. Those are the things that I just didn't understand the power of. So I'm going to let you take back the conversation here. Is there anything regarding control of the asset and why that's valuable to the people that we work with?
Yeah, well, I mean, because freedom is ultimately what we're looking for, right? And so, like, having the ability to go ahead and having the ability to control those assets and the cash flow is the most important part. And so, because ultimately that the quest that we're on is a quest for freedom. And so, like, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the control over the assets. And a lot of people would come in here and say, well, you never really own real estate. And you don't. But like, ultimately, find me something the government doesn't own that's not like my soul, right? And so, like, we're just playing by the game. Or we're just playing the game by the rules that have been provided to us.
There you go.
And right now, real estate is something that you can control and lever and force appreciation into, as Shawn was mentioning, and you can go ahead and dictate how much you can earn in a year, and there's no real ceilings to it. You just keep adding your income. That's what I love about it more than anything, and that's what I like that's why I like being an investor and making the money make money to you, for you, excuse me, and which doesn't take your work. Because once you understand it, the slow game really doesn't matter, because you're like, okay, I'm buying this rental property and it's only making me $500 net a month. But when you actually switch your way of thought to be like, well, I used to work in the corporate world and I used to like hustle my ass off for a $6,000 raise annually. And now I can go make $6,000 of free and clear cash flow with one purchase that I levered. Then you start to do the math and you say, okay, well, if I could get what I call the valley of death, which is like one house to 10 rental properties, most people cannot get there because of the patience it takes to get to 10. Yeah. But once you get to 10, then you talk about the numbers that we're talking about. Let's just use that simple example. It's $5,000 a month. And I say to you all the time, what does it like? I'm not out here trying to work magic and make people fucking worth $500 million. But like, if I can guide you to, I mean, I would love to make you worth $500 million. Don't get me wrong. But like, if I could guide you to make $5,000 a month to $10,000 a month in the next 2 years, how would that change your family? How would that change the conversations at the dinner table? How would that change the stress in your marriage? How would that change the ability you had to take off work and show up at your kids' games, run them places you want to? Ultimately, that's what we're going for. I mean, you can get to the $100 million if you so choose, if that's the vision, but freedom is the vision. It's time freedom, it's location freedom, and it's freedom of choice of how you're spending your time and how you're making your money. And if you can set up a system that will build you $10,000 a month of free and clear cash flow, you have more choices about what you do for active income, what your spouse does for active income, where your family vacations, all of it. It's just, that's what's so important about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what I like is, and sometimes you bring this up, I'm going to bring it up, is Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant, right? If you guys haven't looked at that, I mean, you can read the book, but if you just Google cash flow quadrant, you'll see the 4 quadrants of what he calls the cash flow quadrant. The top left is an E. That's for employee. This is when the amount of active work determines your income. You have to work for money. Then you move down to the bottom left quadrant. That is S. That is self-employed. You are still actively working for income. So time equals money. On the left side of that quadrant, you are working for money. I'm not saying you're never going to work from, you're never not going to work for money. We all are going to be on the left side of the quadrant for a very long time. But what we're saying, and this is a great visual representation, is the extra dollars that you're setting aside, you need to get those to the right side of the quadrant. This is the top right is B, business owner. Income does not depend on active work. This is where you have employees, team members, outsourcing, whatever, do the work to earn you money. And then the ultimate quadrant to be in is the bottom right, which is I. This is the investor. This is where income does not depend on active work. And this is where your money makes money, not your people making money. So if you want a visual representation, look at that, see where most of your money flowing into your life falls on that quadrant. And if you are in the top left or even the bottom left, we need to learn and get our money to work in the B and I quadrants. There are so many valuable aspects and characteristics of being in the B and I, and you're going to find that out real quick. So again, like Jeff said, we can't make you worth 500 million overnight, but you'll see very quickly once you create your own banking system in level 4, leverage that to acquire a cash flowing asset in level 5. And yeah, $6,000 doesn't sound sexy and exciting, but 6,000 of potentially tax-free dollars for maybe 1 hour a week, 4 hours a week. I don't care. 4 hours a month, whatever it ends up being. Sometimes real estate requires no attention. Sometimes it requires a lot of attention, right? It just depends on the day. It just depends on the day. But I am very confident in saying it does not require as much attention as what your job does at the office or at home.
100%. Nailed it, man.
Boom. I think that's good for the podcast episode. Guys, this is what we teach people. So if you want anything else, reach out to us. Jeff, send the people out.
There you go. Hit us up if you have any questions or if you want to implement this for yourselves. Have a great week. Kick ass.